Welcome back to Blades and Blasters, everyone. This is Wanderer again with our new campaign, Knight's Frontier. So last time we met 3 of the 6 characters, and in this session we're going to meet the other 3.
The best 3.
The absolute best 3.
So with no further ado, let's get started. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So for anyone who watched the first episode, this is the same intro that I read from that one, just so that all the players have seen the same intro. The year in Kryn is 581 AC, over 200 years after the War of the Lance. And although some lands, such as the fertile plains of Istar and the conquered elven homeland of Sylvanesti, are ravaged by war, much of the continent of Ansalon lives in relative peace. The west of the continent, or at least that part of it that lies north of New Sea, is dominated by the kingdom of Solamnia, whose orders of knights are dedicated to the gods of light. The east is divided between tribes of ogres, hobgoblin warlords, ruthless minotaur legions, and, most dangerous of all, knights of Naraka, as dedicated to the gods of darkness as the knights of Solamnia are to the pantheon of light. Between these lands lies the cursed realm of Nightlund. Formerly the domain of the legendary Death Knight Lord Soth, this once fertile province of Solamnia now stands without a ruler. But although the black clouds that once shrouded it in perpetual night are long gone, the land still bears a dark reputation. Haunted by undead, dominated by dense forest and rumoured to be tainted by dark magic, few have chosen to try and make a home there. But now, as safer cities become more crowded and fertile land grows scarce, some are willing to risk everything to start a new life in this ill-favoured realm. As settlers arrive, others do too, whether to protect them, prey on them, or simply to sell them goods. Their fates are even less certain than those of the farmers. And like last time, it is to 3 of these others, not the settlers, but those who come with the wave of settlement, that we will turn our attention. And like last time, rather than just introducing the characters, we're going to have a little introductory scene with each of them. And we are going to start with Baldwin, played by Ghost. The scene is a small shrine or temple. Not quite as bare as this picture, but there is a certain austerity about it. The walls are white stone, and though there's a little marble on the floor, generally it's very low on ornamentation. And we see Baldwin walking through the halls. Ghost, could you describe what Baldwin looks like, please?
As Baldwin walks through the halls, he's clad in full armor, as well as a mask over his face. Slits across where the eyes should be. There's a shawl, white cover, that rests over his head and shoulders. He carries his arms and ornaments at his side, not bearing them, because he is in a place of safety, of peace. He walks as proud as one can, given his circumstance. There's not any skin showing where his hands are. There are gloves, there's the mask covering down all the way to his chin. You can only see the very edges of his lips and chin at the very bottom of the mask, curled into a bit of a frown, a grimace, but he's no more unhappy, or appears no more unhappy than anyone else. There's a very slight sense of a limp in his right leg, but Beyond that, he stands a head taller than the average man, and he strides down the hallway, heading to his destination.
Okay. And we see, waiting for him further down the corridor, is this person here. Unlike the white that he wears, she is wearing a blue hooded cloak over white vestments. And as he approaches, she's watching him, almost studying him. And there's a slight furrow into her brow as if concerned about something. She's watching everything from the way he walks to looking at what little is exposed of his face to try and actually work out what expression might be under that mask. But of course it's fruitless. As he approaches, she seems to kind of shake off that whatever thoughts she's fallen into and smiles at him. You know her. Her name is Zera. Do you remember who that is, or should I give you a quick reminder? It's been a while since. Okay. And Zera looks Baldwin up and down and says, well, he's waiting for you. I think, like me, he wants to be sure that you're ready for this. And then she pauses, as if you could see the words "Are you?" about to form on her lips, but she stops herself, and she says, "Good luck, Baldwin."
Baldwin offers Zera a slight smile, and he nods and bows his head. Worry not, Zera. I'm prepared. And again, thank you for everything.
And she nods, takes a deep breath, trying to calm whatever thoughts are worrying her, and looks at Baldwin again, smiles and says, "Mishak, I'll go with you, Baldwin." And then inclines her head and turns to leave.
And to you as well.
And beyond, at the end of the corridor, lies the door to the study of the head of this enclave of your knighthood. Knights dedicated to Mishakal, goddess of healing. Knights dedicated to peace and protection rather than to war. You've only been in this study once before. And that was when you first arrived here, and, well, as soon as you'd recovered from your wounds. How do you feel going back into this room after several months?
At one part of it, Baldwin feels a relief that he's come so far. There were many times when he was uncertain, where he wondered if he would fall apart. Everything at the end of the tragedy felt so certain that it would be his demise, that it would be over, that he would never be able to return to any semblance of life. But after going through everything here in the temple, he's recovered. He's feeling stronger than he ever has, more certain that there's a purpose again. So with that, there's a relief, but also trepidation, because he does not know what will be coming next. He doesn't know really anything about what this summons will entail, where he'll go, what he'll do. And so there's a nervousness to him, but an excitement as well.
Yeah, Baldwin does know that he's being sent somewhere on his first sort of assignment for the Order, his first mission, you might want to call it, but he doesn't know anything else. I presume he knocks and enters?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Baldwin will knock politely and then wait to be allowed in.
An old man's voice can be heard saying, "Enter."
Baldwin does.
Okay. And behind a desk, you see this man, wearing the same kind of vestments as Zera was. And he, as you enter, he smiles. His name's Anselmus. And he looks you up and down and says, "Please, Baldwin, do sit."
Baldwin will bow and then do as he is bidden. He will sit. Try to be as comfortable as he can. There is pain in his joints as he sits.
And as you do, he seems to notice, even though he can't see your face, you don't think you visibly winced. He does seem to notice and says, "I could ask the goddess to ease your pain, Baldwin."
No, revered son Anselmus. Mishikal has given enough. I will bear the pain. It is no bother.
And he nods and pauses for a second as if weighing Baldwin's words. He, after this long and slightly uncomfortable silence, he then says, "Well, I think you know why you're here, Baldwin. They tell me you're ready to go out in the world in the name of our goddess. How do you feel?"
And he thinks on it a bit. He purses his hands in front of him. He finally speaks up. I believe I am ready. Yes. I have learned a great deal here. I've found my faith, I think, my strength, and I am prepared to do my part for Mishikal, for our order, and more than that, for the people.
And he nods again and again, a slightly long silence. And then he says, "Well, I'm glad to hear it. Almost the perfect answer, Baldwin. And it seems that you are, in so many ways, the perfect knight. But that in itself is strange. You seem healed, refreshed, well, with no trace of the tragedy that brought you here. You lost your whole family in one night of bloodshed and betrayal."
I know, I did.
"It's all right to not be all right, Baldwin."
Yeah, Baldwin looks down at the floor for a moment, and he takes a deep breath. The scars, they'll be there. And I must admit there are some days where I revisit what happened. Nights, too. As unfortunately some of the clerics have likely heard. But be that as it may, were I to sit here and continue to stay in these halls, continue to seek comfort, the more time I spend here, the more I feel like I'm hiding. I can't hide anymore. I must do something. I must try to seek redemption somehow. And then maybe that will help.
And He looks at Anselmus, looks across at Baldwin, and there's compassion in his eyes, and some sorrow. He says, Baldwin, how many times must we tell you there is nothing to seek redemption for? But be that as it may, I have taken Zera's counsel that you wish to challenge. And therefore, pauses again and almost like half shakes his head. Says, we are sending you to Nightlund. Once a cursed realm of evil, now being cautiously resettled. There are some small settlements around the edges of that realm, trying to reclaim the fertile farmland that, well, was once the equal of the rest of Solamnia. And you know that Solamnia, your homeland, has the most fertile, the most productive farms in the world. And but it is a difficult place to resettle. The land needs healing. The people who are going there need protection. There is a place called Norhold, south of the great forest that covers so much of that land. The Knights of Solamnia have a, well, you could call it a castle, but it is but made of wood. There are a few people there struggling to settle the land, and a very small number of knights there to protect them. The knights' numbers are, well, the knights are stretched. The knights do not have the numbers to send large forces to Nightlund, and therefore only a handful of knights and men-at-arms protect them. We would like you to go there and do what you can to help these people.
Baldwin nod, bow his head. As Mishikal wills, I will go there. I will do everything in my power.
And he nods and says, well, Goddess be with you, Baldwin. And there we will... Sorry, you can see.
Oh yeah, he's this current. And you as well, revered son and Selmas. He nods his head and will make to leave.
Yep, and we will fade from that scene there. The next place we see is quite different. We see a castle at the edge of a range of mountains. The castle is old, well built, strong, but yeah, it seems to have fallen a little into disrepair. There are signs that it has been repaired, but, well, for some reason the repairs are incomplete. The ravages of time are moving faster than those repairing it. And so the whole place has a little bit of a slightly sad and faded look about it. As our eye moves through the walls and into the halls of this great place, this once great place, we can see that inside it is kept clean and tidy, but the tapestries once fine are a little faded. And walking along the halls, we see Isabeau. Isabeau is played by Slip. Slip, would you like to describe how Isabeau looks?
She's a young woman, early 20s. Tall, around 5'10", blonde-haired, blue-eyed. She wears chainmail armor as she walks and seems to wear it as comfortably as if she were born in it. The mail itself has a kind of burnished softness to the edges of the interlocking rings that speaks of long use and great care. She has a sheathed longsword and a shield. The shield bears heraldry of a white moon over a white tower and a black mountain with a kingfisher bird at the bottom. Her demeanor is somewhat serious, her gaze distant. She walks, she mutters quietly under her breath, the fingers of her left hand making strange repetitive motions. She's got a thick book tucked under her right arm. She's biting her lip, and then she makes a quick gesture with that left hand and then curses under her breath. Boss! She pulls the book out from under her right arm, opening to a page with strange diagrams and inscriptions, but at the top reads the mage's hand. It's so easy when I just will it to happen. Why does it have to be so complicated here? She again tries to move her hand to follow the gestures in the book, and then closes her eyes for a moment, snaps the book shut, puts it under her arm again. No, I just need to take a break. With that, she lifts her gaze to look at the wall she's passing next to. There's a mural of a dragon battling a woman in armor. With great affection and a little bit of reverence, she passes her fingers lightly over this mural and the glass tiles that glimmer strangely in the torchlight. The torches themselves are ever-burning torches that burn with a strange purple flame, unlike anything most visitors would have seen. As her fingers brush across the tiles, one of them comes loose and with a tinkle comes down to hits the flagstones on the floor. She kneels and picks it up, brushes it, kind of rubs it on her pant leg to get any dust or dirt off of it, places it back where it goes on the mural, presses both hands against it and closes her eyes. There's a change in the pressure in the room around her as her lips move. And when she removes her hands, the tile is in place. She smiles with satisfaction and continues to walk down the hall.
And she hasn't got very far when she hears a voice behind her say, Isabeau, you gaze often on that.
She turns to look at the speaker.
And the speaker is well known to her. She would have recognized her from even her voice. It's... Oops. It helps if I don't do that. Give me just a second. Okay, hopefully you can see that now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's her aunt, Martine, who Isabeau is lady of the castle. She is the ruler of these lands, such as they are. But Martine kind of rules in her stead when she's not around. And there have been several times that Isabeau has not been around. Martine looks at her with affection, but a little concern. And she says, You push yourself too hard.
She smiles and walks closer. But I mustn't. You see, I have two legacies to fulfill now. That of our ancestor, and she points to the mural. Lady Isabeau, my namesake. And that of my mother. And she kind of hefts the book in front of her. I wish it were not so, but it's on me now, isn't it? And a sad expression kind of passes over her face.
Martine reaches out a hand to her cheek and kind of tilts Isabeau's chin up so that she meets her gaze and says, "You have many legacies. You are your father's daughter, lady of these lands, but you are your mother's daughter. And your mother, she herself led a split life, studying in the halls of the Tower of High Sorcery at Wereth, but at the same time hiding a talent.
Isabeau kind of flushes like a little bit, like uncomfortably at the mention of it.
Martine sighs and says, "I know we do not talk of this in the family, but it is no shame. This is not the land as it was before the cataclysm when sorcerers would be hunted. There are many great sorcerers who walk the lands now, and there is even peace of a sort between them and the orders of wizardry. It's..." and she kind of sighs in a slightly exasperated way. You can tell that she strayed from her original point, and she says, What I want to say, Isabeau, is that you only need to be you. You are enough. You will do well. You have the seeds within you to be everything your parents were and more. You just need to see it.
She kind of softens and her hands kind of tremble a little bit on the book and she clutches it to her chest. Do you really think so?
Of course.
I don't want to shame their memories.
Your sense of duty does you honor, Isabeau. But the weight of duty can crush a young person like yourself. You need some time away. Like I said, you are your father's daughter, dutiful, honor-bound, and willing to give everything for the sake of this land. But you are also your mother's daughter, skilled, adventurous, with a lively intellect that needs adventure. And at this moment, Isabeau notices for the first time that Martine's left hand is holding something. Her right hand was up to Isabeau's cheek and is now bent down by her side, but her left hand is holding what appears to be a letter. And Martine kind of looks down at it and says, I've received a letter from an old friend. And as she says that, you can make an insight check, if you like.
Okay.
First roll of the game for this group.
Well, that didn't pop up for some reason. I rolled off my sheet.
Oh,
there we go.
Just a delay. Yeah. 18. Excellent. You notice that as she says an old friend, there's just a hint of colour creeps into her cheeks for a moment, as if there was a slight suppressed blush. And perhaps the word friend is underselling things. Martine is, I should explain that, Martine's actually a little older than she looks in this picture. She's
well preserved.
Yeah. She is your father's older sister. And you're not used to you thinking of her and your uncle as young people, and perhaps even having had other loves before. Yeah, this is an odd and slightly uncomfortable thought for Isabel.
Yeah, she raises an eyebrow and looks her aunt in the face, and there are still much of her beauty is still there, and she kind of envisions her as she must have been when she was young. You've an old friend, is it? What does it say?
And she sort of says very quickly, it was before I met your uncle. His name is... And she pauses again, and again you see this slight flush. His name is Alfric, Lord Alfric Uthperan. He did not ask for help. He would not. He is too proud. But I think he needs help. He's a knight of Solamnia, a knight of the Rose, a man of great valor. He is one of those who are protecting those farmers and settlers who are trying to resettle Nightlund.
A noble endeavor.
Yes, but his numbers are too few. He speaks of perhaps having to abandon the endeavor. And I know he would not do that unless he thought that lives would be saved by so doing. He does not admit defeat easily. And I thought, well, and she looks at you and smiles and says, I thought, well, I can think of one young knight, a kingfisher who, well, would be of great use in his little garrison of Norhold.
She kind of looks out the window, out at the mountainous peaks that surround Blackstone. It's grand and it takes your breath away, but at the same time there's a gloom to it, perpetual mist that hangs around the tops of the peaks. Yes. Well, if he's a friend of yours and he needs help, well, that's what I've sworn to do. And a look of grief kind of passes over her face. Perhaps getting out of this place will do me some good.
Oh, it will, Isabel.
There's so many memories here.
You're like a caged bird. But no, something sadder. I have not the words for it. But you need to spread your wings, Isabel. Return to us when this can be your home, your true home, a place of happiness as it once was. I will keep your land safe until then.
Oh, I've no doubt. She reaches out, with her two hands and kind of pulls her aunt in and gives her a kiss on the cheek.
Yeah, her aunt gives her a long hug and then steps back and smiles and wipes the corner of her eye, obviously brushing away a tear. She said, very well. Make ready for your journey and I will make Dariskard ready for your absence and return.
Yes. And she kind of smiles and turns and heads toward her chambers, maybe her step being maybe a little more brisk, a little bit of the excitement of the prospect starting to infect her.
And behind her as she goes, we see that Martine turns with a smile, but also a look of sadness in her eyes, and returns the way she came, going back to her chambers. The corridor falls silent, and then in the silence there is a soft noise as the tile falls out of the wall again. And we'll leave that scene there. Okay, we go to a very different scene. Our scene is a forest and a path through a forest. The forest is dense, not just pines as we see here, but deciduous trees as well, broad-leaved, dark beneath the trees. But over the path there is a little light. Although that light is fading, the shadows are growing long. And we see a man walking briskly down the path, determined. His name is Rubrum. Rubrum is played by Tetnak. Tet, would you like to describe how he looks?
Sure. Rubrum is a slight man, not overly tall. His back is hunched, almost as if with a hunchback. He carries a slender staff with a golden cap on both ends. What is the most interesting thing about his appearance is his stark red hair, almost like fire flames. It starts darker at the roots, and as it expands, it gets redder and redder, almost unnaturally so, as if dyed. His skin is a pale, almost albino hue, with his eyes appear to almost flash red as he walks, quickly putting his staff on the ground as he scuttles forward, murmuring to himself, "Ras, I must go. He looks up only seldomly, looking around, but quickly, almost his head darting back and forth. Over his body is a ill-kept red robe with golden trim on the sleeves and on the cuff of the bottom of the robe as it drags in the dirt and mud. There are splotches of tears in the garment and mud, dirt, other filth, not laundered. He wears a slight sack over his back with whatever is in there. Things of little import. And he continues down the path, following it, with his staff always leading the way.
And on one of those occasions when he looks up, he's surprised to see there is someone there. This road is not often travelled, perhaps one of the reasons he took it. And what's more, this person he sees is standing against a tree, lounging, as if waiting for something or someone. He wears black armour, a long black cloak with a hood over his face. And as Rubrum approaches, he steps away from the tree. He moves with an easy grace that to Rubrum speaks of an experienced swordsman. And he does indeed carry a sword at his side. What he doesn't carry is a pack, supplies. There are no settlements round here. What traveller would be travelling without food and water? Every one of Rubrum's senses is tingling. What does he do?
He turns to face the man lounging by the tree. His head cranes and looks at him expectantly. "Stand back! I will have passage here unmolested."
You can't see the man's face, but his voice when he speaks has an amused quality to it. It says, "Well, I'm afraid, Rubrum, that's right, isn't it? That one of us is going to be disappointed. And, well, in fact, one of us is going to be dead."
He snarls his upper lip raising up almost to his nostrils. His lips quiver. He turns away from whatever the camera is and curses to himself and looks back suddenly to the man. His eyes almost seem awash in flame and slitted oddly. Then come forward and I will feast on your flesh and burn your bones brittle and dry.
Most people would, at the very least, recoil from such a threat, particularly from someone whose appearance is so dramatic. But the man doesn't move. He says, "Oh yeah, I know you're a powerful sorcerer, Rubrum. You see, I'm not an ordinary bandit. I'm a professional. We've been paid to do a job, me and the lads." And he makes a little signal with his hands, and you see from various places and amongst the trees and bushes some way off, there are more men in black armor with black hoods. And some of them, you can see that their hands are twitching in a way that indicates they're ready to cast spells. There are warm-up exercises that wizards and sorcerers do with their hands. And just as a swordsman can recognize another good swordsman by their stance and the way they carry their weapon, a sorcerer can recognize when someone's making ready to cast spells. And the man says, "You see, you're carrying some valuables there, Rubrum. That staff, a few other little trinkets. And we've been well paid to collect them. So, afraid it's not your night." And he looks up and goes,
You have no idea what you're doing. Fine, fall upon me with your blade. It matters not.
and he signals again, draws his sword, and then all around Rubrum in the forest, maybe 15 or 20 more blades are drawn, and there's the sound of two sorcerers beginning to cast spells. So before we cut from this scene, what does the first spell that Rubrum casts look like? Just describe what the casting looks like, if you like.
Yeah, so he spins on two men that are rushing at him first, and a jet of flame, a humongous fireball, launches from his hands and quickly just disintegrates both of them. Immediately, they're and their armor burns, their bones burn, their flesh burns. The trees behind them are ignited on fire.
Yeah, and then we see a group of magical darts making their way towards Rubrum, just weaving their way through the trees and heading towards them with unerring accuracy. And just before they hit, the scene fades. Okay. And we then see the same scene, but it looks a little different. Get rid of this. The dark figures are nowhere in sight, and it's daylight now, possibly the next day, and we see that Rubrum's body lies unmoving in a pool of blood next to the road. There are signs of a great battle. Trees burned, some felled, others, the bark has been shattered as if they froze and then broke. And there are spatters of blood in many places and scorched ground in many others. but no sign of bodies. There are drag marks, though, as if some were removed. Quite a few. And then, riding into all of this, we see Isabel. And Slip, would you like to describe how she reacts when she sees this scene and Rubrum's body lying in the middle of it?
She's riding a pretty grey palfrey and humming to herself, looking around in the forest, feeling happy with the dappled sunlight coming through the leaves of the forest onto the ground. She breathes deep the fresh air, and which is so much richer than the high mountain air that she's used to. And suddenly she sees that the first thing she notices the hair, the flash of red ahead, and she, startled, reins in her horse, then knees it gently to a walk as she approaches, cautiously, peers down, sees that it's a person on the ground, blood pooling out. She looks around to her left and right, fearing that, whatever happened here, there might still be danger. But seeing nothing, hearing nothing, she dismounts and approaches cautiously Rubrum's body, using a bit of magic. She gently moves his cloak away from his wound and examines it.
She notices a few things, actually. You can make a either a perception or investigation check, your choice.
Okay. They're both about the same. I think investigation.
Yeah. Piece together the scene a little bit.
Yeah, not a great roll.
Okay. With that, well, you're over 5. I'll give you something, but it's not a lot. You notice that he's got a lot of wounds, not just one. Or at least there's bloodstains from multiple wounds.
Right.
And he's lying in a lot of blood, but it appears to have dried. And you can see all around you the scenes of this titanic battle.
Are there any other bodies?
No. And with the 7, you don't know why.
Okay. She reaches out. She's got a little bit of knowledge of combat medicine. She tries to puts her hand on his chest to see if he's breathing.
Okay, you can make a medicine check. I mean, you don't need that to see if he's breathing, but I'm just seeing what else you can tell me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should explain, by the way, what I tend to do is rather than have just a pass-fail for quite a few checks where there's information involved, I will have a kind of sliding scale that, depending on what you roll, you'll get more information. He doesn't appear to be breathing, and his skin is cold. Appears like he's been dead for some time. But there's no obvious wound. And then you realize you've made a mistake. No, there is a little warmth. He's cold, but he's not corpse cold.
Yeah, she pulls out her little steel mirror that she's got in her pack and puts it in front of his nostrils and sees it fog up just a little bit.
Yeah. And then, to her surprise, Rubrum gasps and opens his eyes. You don't know how someone who is breathing that little and that shallowly could suddenly give a big gasp and open their eyes, but he does. How does Rubrum react in that first few seconds?
He sits up. He sits up and says, "I am Dracargus the Great.
Oh, she kind of stumbles back a little bit. She'd been crouching. She kind of falls back on her butt. Sir, oh, I feared the worst.
He
You seem...
gets to his feet and points his finger at you and says, "Die!" And just points at you for a long while and nothing happens, and he clenches his fist and...
What? Sir, you are not in your right mind. And she stands up. Are you in need of aid?
So you can make an Arcana check, but at disadvantage because you're in a little bit of shock at the moment.
Okay.
So I think that just rolled normally. So if you roll again, we'll take the lower of the two.
Oh, yeah. How do I make it roll with advantage on this sheet?
There's a toggle on the sheet. Oh, you got a natural. Okay. Yeah, you don't get any significance to what he just did. You think he just pointed at you and told you to die. But yeah, you can carry on now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if there was something
he doesn't actually respond. He is very, you can tell, out of sorts. He looks around. He begins patting himself on the chest. Like he's looking around, and he's like, "I've been robbed again."
Oh, sir, that is most unfortunate. How long ago? She looks up at the sky. What time of day is it?
It is mid-morning.
Mid-morning. It's now mid-morning. Was it long ago? And she says, "Are you hurt?"
Give the date and everything. And
yeah.
It has not been long.
In fact, you realise the encounter was the night before. Or the evening before.
The eve before this. Perhaps it is hard to remember.
How many of them were there? I am a knight of Solamnia, and it is my duty to defend those against bandits and brigands.
24, perhaps?
Her face falls a little bit. 24, you say?
Don't worry, there's only 12 now.
That does even the odds a bit. And, were they very skilled then?
If I'm dead, they were.
If you're
that seems
dead...
Yeah.
She just kind of chalks it up to him not being in his right mind. There's so much blood. Are you all right? I do have some gift with healing.
I require no healing. I am well enough.
You're quite sure?
I will be fine.
No. She looks around. Is there any of his belongings left?
No. You can make a perception check. There's nothing obvious. You can make a perception check. And there might be something else I'll tell you depending on how good the check is.
Oh, there we go. Finally a decent roll.
Hey, it's a good roll. Okay, so a few things. One, there are no possessions here. He seems to have had everything taken, purse and everything. Even his tunic is a little ripped open, as if they maybe pulled off a pendant or something like that. And just kind of ripped open his shirt while they were doing it. So he's looking a little bit 70s man at the moment. You don't see anything else. What you do see, though, is although his shirt is ripped open, there's no signs of any wound, including one place where you can clearly see there is a puncture mark through the tunic and blood on it. There's no wound underneath. It looks like he's been magically healed in some way, which is really odd. Like, would someone have, stabbed him, left him for dead, and then healed him up? This seems really...
Her eyebrows furrow, and she looks to the left and right again, starting to suspect that, maybe this is some sort of ambush, and he's like bait for it or something. Well, sir, you do seem to be quite without means now.
He does. I should add, by the way, that despite his protestations that he's absolutely fine, he looks really weak. He looks tired. So,
Might I offer to escort you somewhere? I do have some food I could share.
I suppose. When you first came upon me, I thought you were one of them. Apologies.
Were they Knights of Solamnia?
I did not know what you were. I do not believe they were knights of any sort, no.
Oh, that's a relief. Well, I'm Isabeau of Blackstone.
Isabel, I am called Rubrum.
You can make a history check.
Alright. History.
See if that means anything to you.
Sure. I won.
No, I've got 10 here.
No, it says 1 sent to the VTT. Okay.
Was it?
That's
It comes out at 10.
I don't have that much of a...
7. 7 plus 3, it says 10.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I rolled a... I don't know. I rolled a 1 on Here, let me show you real quick.
Oh, I should be able to see. I've got the thing here. Oh no, I've got no game activity. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I'll count it as I'll take the one I prefer, and in this case, I prefer the 10.
Okay.
So the name Blackstone means something to you. You know that Blackstone is pretty close to Darisgard, and that would explain why she's coming down this road.
I know of your family. Yes, Blackstone. I remember now.
She smiles a little bit. You know of my family?
No, nothing important. Just that you live near here, right?
She points up the road and kind of and then up high. Yes, in the mountains. So we haven't reached Darisgard yet. Is that right?
You've gone past Darisgard.
Past Darisgard, okay.
Yeah, you're actually a few days away from your home. I probably should have explained, sorry.
Which way were you headed?
Nah. Points in the way he was headed. I'm not exactly sure where he was going, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, he was heading sort of further up this path and she's coming down it. But if what you think has happened, Rubrum, then you're probably feeling pretty vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
Like physically, not emotionally, not you.
Yeah. I need to rest.
Oh. She looks up at the daylight, kind of disappointed at losing travel time, but
I
of course.
do not have qualms about riding on your horse.
You wish to ride my horse?
Well, if you wish to help me, I would ride with you, of course.
How heavy does he look?
Oh God, he's not very heavy. Maybe 150 pounds at the most.
Okay. She's like, yes, and if Starlight gets tired, I can walk. It's always nice to stretch your legs anyway. Here, and let me introduce you. And she goes over to the horse and takes it by the reins and pulls it over. Starlight, this is Rubrum. We're going to be giving him a ride. And she pats the horse on its nose.
I mean, this is Wanderer's call, but I doubt the horse takes too well to him. Probably a bit skittish, perhaps.
Yeah. The horse is standing there, as disciplined as ever. And then as Rubrum approaches, its nostrils flare, and it shies away. It kind of throws its head a little bit.
Reuben
Probably
says
whickers a little
something
bit.
quite odd. He says, "Have you ever had horse meat?"
And she looks over at Rubrum and she says, Yes. But that was a bad time.
I do not like it either. He just walks back and he will try to climb up into the saddle behind her.
Isabeau, you need to make an animal handling check.
Okay.
It's going to be DC 14. It's going to be quite difficult.
Okay.
The horse does not want to stay still.
Oh, I made it.
Oh, yes.
You did
So
it!
it's a struggle. It's a struggle. The horse does not want this guy.
Starlight
riding.
is normally just the gentlest creature. She's not a warhorse at all. But
Yep.
yeah, she seems so skittish. She must smell all the blood. I'm sorry, it's making her quite nervous.
Oh, animals don't like me much.
That's so. She helps Rubram up and then swings herself up into the saddle.
Yeah, he groans as he gets up. Feeble body.
Are you sure you'll be able to do this? And she says as they kind of move forward at a walk, we could stop and I could let you rest.
No, we must go this way.
And she looks back toward the way. She realizes he was going the other direction and now she's going this way. She's like, all right.
There's a village for resting.
Yes, there is. What's the next village that we're expected to hit? I'm sure Isabel would know.
Yes, there is a village not far from here, and I made a note of the name. I did not make a note of this name. Darn it. But there is a village not far from here.
Yes, there is, not far from here. I've visited it a few times. We should be able to find you a comfortable place to rest then, and perhaps she kind of feels her purse, which is not, she's got a little bit of money, but not a whole lot. It was basically all her aunt could scrape together out of the coffers. But we'll get you equipped and on your way. And I guess they continued down the road with him moaning and...
Yep. And,
rubbing uncomfortably against her back.
Yeah, he's... You're wondering if what's unsettling the horse is that, some of his clothing seems to be a little bit scorched, and that and the blood smell and everything, but he does smell a little bit of dried blood and also of smoke.
Yeah, and you would feel like on your back, his head touching you as he's like kind of hunched over a bit, and he's just kind of he groans almost the entire way.
Yeah, she'll offer him water or, some rations or bread or hardtack or whatever she's got.
He mostly he ignores it mostly. No.
Yeah, he does carry on behaving oddly, not like in any hostile way or anything overtly like unacceptable, but just odd.
Yeah.
Right the way through the journey. And then you find yourself reaching the village. I put a note in the chat. It's called Aaron's Vale. I found the name. And not far from Aaron's Vale, you see a figure who doesn't look familiar, Isabel, but the heraldry is familiar. The heraldry is the heraldry of Darisgard. And there is a knight in traditional Solamnic plate armor, highly decorated and ancient design, wearing a mask. He is beside a stream that's next to a point where it's kind of crossroads, where a road from the north intersects this road just outside this town. Seems the town's probably built at this crossroads, basically. And it's odd. You're not sure who this is. You know Darisgard well. but also Darisgard. Wow, Darisgard has very unpleasant connotations for you now. How?
Mhm. And I would
Ru-
assume that it's not a custom for them to wear masks.
No, absolutely not. Helm, sure, but not a mask. Rubrum, you definitely recognize that heraldry too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's go through the group. We'll start with who wants to go first out of Tet and Slip
Go ahead,
to do
Slip.
their react.
Okay. She's picking up the pace a little bit on the horse as they're getting to the village, looking forward to kind of unloading this weirdo. Whatever inn she can find.
Whatever do you
Get
mean?
this fucker off my horse!
And she sees the heraldry up ahead, and she kind of pulls up. Oh, there, that's familiar, and yet unfamiliar. Darisgard, but a mask? And she just kind of walks toward the person, just very curious.
But also for Isabeau, this brings back some pretty unpleasant memories because that's where her brother died
Yeah.
about 6 months ago.
I think maybe she
feel?
sees it, and she knees the horse toward it, and but then says, well, thinks about just whatever conversation she's gonna have. It's gonna be unpleasant, so she kind of starts to turn the reins away. Let's just get you to an inn. That's more important. And she kind of nudges you. You're awake back there, right?
Yeah, you actually at one point he isn't actually, and he's kind of stammering in his sleep, and he says, "Asma, it has been long. It has been a long time." And his eyes look up at, "Oh, we are here then."
Aronsvale, yes. And she kind of glances over at that knight and starts to move her horse past him. I'm going to get you to an inn.
He just he very suddenly slips off the horse, and he doesn't respond to you. And honestly, he seems to be walking a lot more confident, a lot more stably, and actually briskly. And he's just kind of wandering off towards a bunch of bushes, a hedge, just heading that way. Doesn't say anything. And he gets there and he begins to start rifling through it like he's looking for something.
She is definitely startled at his sudden dismount, and she kind of nudges her horse forward over to where he is. Are you quite all right?
It's here. It's here. I feel it. It's here.
What are you looking for? It's a bush.
Do I find it, Wanderer?
You do. Pretty quickly.
Yeah, he pulls this locket forward and kind of pushes it towards you. See? I found it. I never lose it.
She leans down, peers at the locket. Is there anything to note about it?
Wonder, what does it look like? You can describe it because I'm not exactly sure.
Yep. It is a gold locket, so it's a kind of pendant, one of those ones that opens. So on the outside, it's a gold shell, decorated with kind of dragon motifs all over it. But before you can examine it more closely, a shadow falls on you, and you both look up to see Baldwin standing there.
Isabeau is saying, "Oh, lovely," and then she turns, sits up on her horse, and looks over at Baldwin. Oh. Good day, sir.
Yeah, Baldwin, he looks at the two of you, and a very faint smile on his lips. And a good day to the two of you as well. A pair of familiar faces that I did not expect to see in a place such as this.
And Isabeau, you don't recognize the mask, but you recognize the voice. Rubrum, you did too.
She furrows her brow. Your voice is familiar. Could it be... Are you Baldwin, my brother's friend?
I would say one and the same, but there have been some changes. Yes, it is Baldwin.
And you know him? And she points at Rubrum.
You know the weirdo.
Yeah. Because thank God someone else can take care of him.
In passing, I'm familiar. He nods his head to Rubrum. Rubrum?
Ah, Baldwin. The last time I saw you, you were just a squirt. About this tall. And he goes up to about his chin, which is probably not true at all. And he just says, "How is your father?"
Ooh.
Baldwin, he nods, looks at the ground, he looks back up. Dead, like everyone else.
Does Isabeau know that his father died? I don't know how
Yeah, she
informed she
knows-
is. She would have been at the tower at some point, so I don't know what she knows
Well-
and what she doesn't.
What she knows is that her brother was kind of sort of fostered there. You know, kind of like, you know, when families kind of exchange. So he was there, and there was some kind of tragedy, and they said that he was killed. That he died of fighting valiantly against an evil that was destroyed there. But whatever this evil was, it consumed all of Baldwin's family apart from him and most of their men-at-arms. Not all of them, but maybe about half of them, yeah.
Okay. So she probably winces then as Rubrum's asking that question.
Rubrum actually just shrugs. "Oh, I see. Well then, you and I should have more chats then, since you are the head of your house."
No, there is... And he thinks about what words he wants to use. House Jarrus is no more. All those that could inherit have either perished or ceded their titles, and the lands of which we owned have been split up among our neighbors. I'm simply Baldwin now. There's no title and no last name.
Isabeau dismounts, kind of hooks the reins onto a nearby branch. Baldwin. She kind of looks him up and down. I never would have recognized you. What? You wear a mask. What does that signify?
And he again, he seems like he's thinking about finding the words, and his eyes are kind of looking around, trying to find them somewhere in front of his face. He sighs again. It serves as a better face these days, I'm afraid. What happened left me scarred. Quite extensively. Magic.
She looks a little embarrassed, but then kind of reaches out and touches his arm and says, well, I'm sorry, you had quite a nice face, but for my brother's to be believed, a better heart.
I think he saw the better sides of me back then. I sometimes wonder how good of a heart I had. Although I suppose now it doesn't matter so much, does it?
Rubrum cuts in quite abruptly and rudely and says, "Well, no matter about all that. Have you had any progeny in the last couple of years? If so, may I see them?"
Isabel like chokes on, like she's.
Yeah. And you thought he was weird before.
I think Baldwin is probably familiar with Rubrum.
Yeah, but it's probably been like 3 or 4 years since you've seen it. He's like come to your place, and
That's quite an indelicate question. Rubrum, perhaps he might have taken a blow to the head. I came upon him on the road. He had been assaulted and robbed by 24 men, he says. There was quite a lot of... Well, it looked like there was a great battle on the road, but he was the only one I found.
Yeah, Baldwin shakes his head when Isabeau says he'd take a blow to the head. And said, no, he's quite like this, from my understanding. We didn't speak much, but he's... Well, no disrespect to you, Rubrum. We've always thought of you as a bit eccentric.
you didn't answer my question.
There's no answer to give. I'm not aware of any progeny. And I'm uncertain that would even be a possibility anymore.
That is a shame.
I too am without progeny, just to save you the question. Perhaps we should find an inn.
I do not care if you have had a child or not. Why would I?
I do not know, but I could use a drink. Do you still drink, Baldwin?
In moderation.
In moderation, of course. Just something to wash the road from my mouth.
Yes, let me finish saying my prayers to the stream, and then I'll join you.
Prayers to the stream. Does that
Yes.
seem familiar?
Oh, Baldwin will just he will, if you ask that, he'll just expand on it.
Yep.
I want to spread Michikol's blessing to the waters and the grasses here. Make sure that it remains fertile. Helps
Mashakul.
this land grow.
Rubrum rolls his eyes and turns and says, I will be in the inn. Can someone spare me some silvers, coppers for my drink? You may drink in moderation, but I will drink heavily this night.
I
have 2 questions. A, have you had any kids? B, can you give me some money? I want to get bladdered.
I'll give him, I think I have like 5 gold pieces. I'll give him a gold piece.
Oh, that's like a lot of money. A gold piece is like $100.
That's fun.
You can get plastered.
He says,
What's money if you don't spend it?
He pats you on the shoulder. I always did like you, Baldwin. Well, not really, but you are acceptable enough. And he turns and just walks off.
Isabel looks a little relieved that he handed the money over. She had been kind of reluctantly reaching for her pouch.
I don't want to give the weirdo any money. I don't want to do with it. Okay.
She'll actually go stand respectfully and bow her head as he prays.
Yeah, Baldwin will take a knee next. Oh, sorry, Wander, did you have something?
Yeah, and Baldwin, you will see that Isabel, she was when you last saw her, I guess she was trying to decide between becoming an apprentice wizard and joining the Knights of Solamnia. But it looks like from her armor, she's joined the Knights.
Yeah, Baldwin will say a simple prayer to the waters. By Mishikol, blessed may she be. You grant this land fertility. Let these waters flow, let these grasses grow. them at all who come here found your bounties. And he gets up and he makes a sign to Mishakal, and then he'll walk with Isabeau. I see you...
Ghost, that's above and beyond. You can get inspiration for that.
Yeah, that was nice.
Mark that on my sheet, right? Alright. Yeah, and he will go with Isabeau, and he looks over and he, again, it's a very faint smile. I see that you made your decision. The knights, after all.
She looks down at her armor and at the shield. Not much of a decision, really. It's my duty. The family has had a knight of Solamnia serving, well, for generations. And now that Etienne is gone, she shrugs. Well, I joined up with the Kingfishers. They at least appreciate someone who can use magic, but now it's... Well, I'm struggling to keep up with my studies for both, and she kind of taps her shield with the white tower. Perhaps someday I'll return to the tower, perhaps not.
Yeah, when you mention Etienne's name, there's kind of a brief grimace on Baldwin's face, and he kind of sets his jaw, but he tries to relax and not show it. He nods along as you talk.
And yeah, she's grabbed the reins of her horse and is kind of leading it as they walk. So you know Rubrum. Where do you know him from? He's quite the character.
To say I know him would be dishonest. He would show up in our lands from time to time, come and visit my family. My father, mainly, he would speak with. He tended only to speak with my father, really. He would stay for a short period of time and leave. He said maybe a dozen words to me on 4, 5 visits over the years. I don't know him very well.
So was he very young then? She is thinking about Rubrum. He looks not old, right?
Yeah, no, he looks like he's early 20s probably.
Out of character, Wander, would it be fair to say that he looks like he hasn't aged a day since I've known him?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so Baldwin, he has looked the same since I've known him. I perhaps saw him when I was 4 or 5 years old the first time, so the last 20 years he has looked no different. Exactly the same.
Perhaps the blood of the elves flows in his veins, but he certainly does not look as I would expect one to.
He possesses magics, as I understand it. I don't remember seeing much, if any, but sorcerers, as you well know, and he again faintly smiles, they possess many powers that are beyond the average person, I think.
Sorcerer, you say? She thinks back to him pointing at her and saying, die. You know, I think he tried to kill me with magic. Perhaps he's not a very good sorcerer.
Again, I have not seen much, but I'm always uncertain of him. I was told that he was to be respected, and that was it. That was by my father, of course. He looks solemn, a bit sad. Life is strange. But I
Indeed.
know that Etienne would be proud to see you now, as you are.
And then it's her turn to look sad. And she looks down at the ground at her feet and then back up. Well, I hope so. What are you doing here? Are you headed somewhere? I myself am headed to Nightlund to reinforce, the knights there.
Baldwin he's a bit not stunned, but he pauses he walks a bit slower. The winds of fate blow strangely. My order has sent me there as well. Again, also to reinforce the knights.
Strange timing. We shall travel together then, yes?
I would have it no other way. I think that is I imagine we'll be working together if we're both going to be at Norhold anyway. Why not travel together?
She gives a faint smile. It'll be good to have a familiar face. And then one corner of her mouth kind of smiles a little impishly at that.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, I will change scenes.
Nope.
Okay. So we see another scene. We see another village. This one a little different. Smaller. A little rougher. It seems further from civilization. The houses look a little poorer, a little more poorly built as well. And there are a few of them. This is more a hamlet than a village. This is a small place called Deepford. And it is in Nightlund. The three of you have been on the road together for some days.
Yeah, I'm coming with in case you guys didn't realize it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
decided to come with you, but what does he give any reason, or does
he would be just like, oh, that sounds wonderful, let's go, kind of like gives no real reason, just like
are you sure? Sure. But you weren't headed this way. I don't think he means to procreate anytime soon.
Baldwin is indifferent. These are just Rubrum things. It's nothing new to him. Strange that he's here, but this is old hat as far as he's concerned.
So they've been traveling
4 or 5 days.
I would say the one thing
getting gradually used to Rubrum's weird.
Yeah, he talks less and less, but then sometimes he'll say the weirdest stuff, right? Just some things that doesn't make any sense. But the one thing that is quite apparent is he's quite spry after about a day. Like he's just normal. Like anybody was hurt, it'd take weeks, but he's just like normal. Just like
any evidence of magic?
He hasn't done anything. He might actually, if you just set camp, he might set a fire with magic. He's not trying to like hide it, but
and it is sorcery, like that would be something.
If you would know that, then yes, it is. But yeah. There's
been no sign of him using a spell book to memorize magic,
or using the traditional methods.
No, there's nothing. It doesn't look like sort of wizardry or high sorcery as it gets called here. So this must be there's only about 3 kinds of sorcery you get in this world. There's wild magic, draconic sorcery from those who've got some hint of dragon blood in them, and a couple. Chaos sorcery is one that you don't want to mess with, but you could make an Arcana check. The higher it gets, the more I'll tell you. But if you want to know what kind of sorcery, that will be...
she's quite curious about it, considering her mother.
Oh, it was one off. So
okay.
You don't think it's wild magic, though, and that's the most common. You've felt no kind of rawness to his magic. So... there's a few possibilities, but it probably indicates that what's in his ancestry, what's in his bloodline, is not dragon. Is not elf. So it could be dragon. He could have some hint of draconic ancestry, or for some people they have ancestry from someone who is altered by dragon magic. So that's probably your biggest bet, that it's some kind of draconic sorcery because of that. But there are other possibilities. So you suspect draconic, but you're not sure. But you're thinking, yeah, maybe he's got some kind of weird hint of, someone who was, there are people who are kind of distantly descended from mixed species human dragon ancestors, and have a hint of dragon ancestry. Maybe that would mean you lived for a long time. You don't know, but maybe that indicates what you're seeing in him. You're not sure.
Well, she watches curiously whenever he does something like that. No hint of distaste. I don't know if Rubrum is the kind of person who even cares what other people think, so he might not notice that at all. But a lot of people find sorcery distasteful, and she doesn't appear to.
Yeah, he does it very nonchalantly, and it's just like habit, Oh, we need a fire. He starts one, As he goes off on some wild tangent, while he's, much stranger than the magic.
And what's the name of this town we're approaching?
It's called Deep Ford.
Deep Ford. And where is it? Is it on the edge of Nightlund, or is it kind of in between?
Yes. So let me bring up a map here. Okay. So you guys have come down from kind of up here. If you can see where I'm pinging, just in kind of northern Solamnia. The encounter, the way you found Rubrum, was around about here. And since then, you went down to Ornick, crossed the, and then took a boat down the river from there to Vingard, crossed the river there at Vingard, and you've come along this other river here, the River Watching, and you're heading towards this small town of Tierford, kind of large village. So this isn't. This is quite a broad river, the River Watching, but it's slow flowing, and there are many points where it can be forded. So you do get several villages along here in small hamlets called something Ford. But you notice that anywhere that's a spot where the river can be forded, people seem to have dug out the ford. So none of them are really fordable anymore. People have taken a lot of trouble to make sure that no one, or perhaps no thing, can ford the river at that point. So you're heading down to Garlus, which is it's nominally a city, but it's actually a kind of mid-sized town with delusions of grandeur. And there you should be able to cross across to Farwatch, and then take a trail to Norhold. It's a very long route. You've got to take this convoluted route, go back on yourself from Farwatch to Norhold. But that is your route. But you're stopping for the night in Deepford. Okay, any more questions?
Is Deepford before Teaford?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Right. You find that although this place only has about 5 or 10 houses, it does have what passes for an inn. It's called the Dragon's Head. And the sign, rather than being a sign, is a sort of crudely carved head of a red dragon. Not very well made, painted in a very half-hearted, garish fashion. Doesn't really speak well for the quality of the place, but hey, it's somewhere to lay your head for the night.
Well, it doesn't look like much, but might be better than sleeping under the stars. Perhaps. Depends on how many bugs are in the mattresses, I suppose.
Yeah, Rubrum goes over to the signage and looks at it, and he looks back at the two of you, and he has disgust on his face. This is not what a red dragon looks like. This is pathetic.
Well, of course not. It's a inn sign. I don't think that they've got any great artisans in this place. But they might have beer.
I also doubt any of them have seen a dragon up close to get a likeness.
At Blackstone, she looks at Rubrum, we have a great mosaic.
Oh? What dragon is depicted?
Blue. And her eyes go distant and great.
Bah!
Beautiful, and it's...
He seems to not be
Fearfulness.
interested.
Yeah, he was probably really interested.
Yeah,
from the-
he was. He
he's-
looked like he
and
was
he's like,
extremely interested, and then you said blue, and he was like, meh.
Well, all right then, let's go in. She just has learned to kind of shrug off his...
Like, right.
Fucking
Okay, you
amazing.
make your way into the inn. It's just as run down as you expected. There's kind of straw on the floor that hasn't been changed in far too long. Some of it seems to be starting to rot. And behind what passes for a bar, which is really just a table, there is a man who is not so much cleaning the table as kind of moving the dirt around with a cloth that's really just as dirty as the bar. And he looks up and looks at the three of you and goes, "Ah, visitors. Yes. Well, sit yourselves down." And he gives you a really oily smile that he obviously thinks looks welcoming. But you always feel a desire to keep your one hand on your purse as soon as he smiles at you.
Yeah. Bolden will approach him and, how much for rooms for the evening?
Well, a room by itself will be 1 silver. Seems that's what you'd pay for a decent room, really. But obviously they're the only place for miles around. And he says, "But if you want some of our lovely stew and breakfast in the morning, cooked by my wonderful wife." And as he says that, a woman who looks a lot nicer than him, a rather sort of plump, friendly-looking woman, pokes her head out the kitchen, smiles, and says, "Hello," and pokes her head back in. There's the smell of cooking in there. Says, "If you want some of her lovely food, then well, that'll be 2 silvers. But trust me, you want the food. I mean, you've probably been eating dried rations, right?"
Yes, but that's... no need for that. Save your provisions for the coming months. I would not deprive you of them.
Isabeau smells like does it smell good?
It does. Yeah, it smells really good.
And the woman seemed like a bit less weird than this guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, he's not Rubrum weird.
yeah. Just
Yeah,
old.
he just
Oh,
seems
yeah.
normal now. You're like, wow,
Normal
this
weird,
guy's
not Rubrum weird.
this guy's a cool guy.
On the
Everybody's
spectrum,
cool.
of weird, he's right where you want him to be.
I could use a hot meal.
Well, of course. So 2 silvers each. Lovely.
She
His
says,
hands almost seem
one
to be
for
twitching
me.
for the coin.
Yeah, one for me. I will not partake.
Are you
So
sure?
I will be fine.
Does it have
Oh.
I
meat?
will forego.
well, it's stew. I should hope so.
Stew, yeah. I think she's got rabbit in there and venison.
It smells actually really good. And she'll pass over the coins
Double
for
meat
herself
stew.
and for Rubrum and
Yeah, he just
She'll-
nods. Yes, that is wise. Thank you.
And you, Sir Knight, will you eat or drink nothing?
I have though my water's skin and I still have truffle rations. But I thank you for the offer. Just the room for me.
Oh, I'd like an ale.
Yes.
And very well, excellent. And he sort of looks at you again, Baldwin, and says, "Well, I'll tell the missus, but we haven't any guests from a while. She might be a bit, insulted." And he looks a little bit nervous about going in and telling her. And then he goes and walks into the other room in the kitchen, and you hear something. You hear raised voices, and then she comes out looking rather flustered, and says, "Sir, my husband says that you will, that you've turned your nose up at my cooking, sir." And she looks rather upset.
Oh no, that is not at all what I have done. It has, pray, madam, it has nothing to do with what I would perceive of your cooking skill. It is more out of respect that I would not wish for you to use your provisions for me. I have my own. It has. I'm confident.
Hunting
that
is
you
good
can...
here, sir. It's meat is easily come by. It's vegetables and such that is not so easy. It's funny. Most peasants back in Solamnia would say the opposite. That vegetables and grain is easy, but here it's the hunting that's good. Growing is difficult.
Can you take the vegetables out of mine?
I'll take your vegetables.
She will take my vegetables.
And she sort of looks and she goes, but with all due respect, sir, it's my stew is a little bit of a source of pride for me, sir, and I would take it kindly if you will have some. I mean, we won't charge you, sir. And then the
just eat her stew so I can eat my stew.
Baldwin just looks confused because he was told he had to pay 2 silvers.
Yeah. And now she's offering, the room's not free, but the silver for the stew.
Right, yeah.
And the silver is very... like a lot.
Yeah. For the stew particularly, right? This is
Now
for
Baldwin just feels guilty. Yeah, she's done it. So yeah, he sighs and he will he'll have her. He'll just give her a gold piece. Madam, I'm...
My gosh! Isabel, her eyes go wide and she's just sweating at that.
I meant no offense. I apologize if I have given you any. Please take this. I will take a bowl of stew.
That's also for the beer, right?
Of course. And stabling, sir. So that's very kind. And she reached out her hand to take the gold, but you didn't even see him enter the room. Her husband is there and he's taking the gold and he kind of bites it and just goes, "Very generous, sir, very generous. Oh yeah. Quick, to the kitchen, dear, to the kitchen, make your lovely stew." He goes, "You won't regret it. You regret why it's..." And you can't, it looks like he's trying to say it's worth the gold and he can't quite force the words out.
Yeah, but Baldwin just kind of purses his lips and he sits down just in disbelief that he's been browbeaten by a cook. And he sits there and he wonders if this... He doubts himself all of a sudden at this challenge, but he puts it away.
Well, they bring the stew out and the beer, and this lady Elva, she does actually seem to really take pride in it. She stands over you and wants to see that you're enjoying the stew. It's obviously a real source of pride for her. So she sits there and basically waits till everyone's had a few mouthfuls of stew.
Yeah, Ruben picks out the vegetables with his fingers and drops them into her bowl, or tries to, just like he...
Yeah, she's like, "No, I'll use my spoon, stop it." She's like,
oh God.
Get your fingers out of it.
No.
You, after a slightly contentious meal, you've eaten about half your food, and she seems to be quite happy that that 2 out of the 3 of you have expressed some sort of pleasure in the food. It tastes pretty good. There's actually a slightly odd aftertaste to it, but generally pretty good, particularly after being on the road for a while. And you're about halfway through it when the door opens again and 2 people walk in, and they are They are not human. They are what's called draconians. They are dragon people. And they're both wearing dark cloaks over armor, both carrying swords. And they enter and they look at the three of you and nod, don't really say anything, and go to sit down in the opposite corner. And you're just wondering how to react to that when the three of you all together start feeling really sleepy. You're feeling really kind of a bit groggy, in fact. And then the realization comes on you that perhaps there was another reason why she was keen that you ate the stew. And all three of you, as your head starts slumping to the table, well, you can all make constitution saves, and whoever gets the highest one is the last to black out. Because we got some plot magic going on.
Not me. I conk out real fast.
Oh,
Sorcerers. Yep.
Wow.
Oh,
We're a
kind
bunch of
suck.
weenies.
yeah. So the last one is actually Rubrum. And as you slump over the table, the last thing you see is the Draconian standing up, looking at the three of you, and they nod to the innkeeper, and one of them says, "Good work." And then they hand over some coin. And then everything goes dark.
Yeah, Rubrum was thinking in his mind to tell them that he was going to kill them, but he didn't get it out, and
No, not with a 6.
I'm gonna love
yeah.
facing this stew.
Right, and at that point we will take a break. So let's do a 5-minute break.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Great. See you guys in 5 minutes.
I'm here.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Alright, so we're all back.
Yep.
Oh,
I'm here.
okay. I wasn't hearing anyone for a minute there, but my headset's back
Can
on
you
now.
hear me?
Yes. Yep. Okay. So let me know when you're ready to carry on, Tet, or I can just start talking.
I'm ready.
Okay. When you open your eyes, there's the sound of wheels squeaking, horses' hooves. There's a jolting and a swaying motion that brings you round. And you find yourself in the back of a wagon. And it looks very much like this one here. There are stout bars here holding you. You aren't chained to the side. You're not really restrained in any way inside this cart. But the three of you are all there, and you all regain consciousness. And you see one of the Draconians. It kind of looks through the bars from a distance and chuckles. And near him, there are some rough-looking humans, but also you see hobgoblins, disciplined, wearing heavy armor, and marching alongside the wagons.
How many soldiers, like how many enemies in all?
Well, there's your wagon and another wagon ahead of you somewhere. You kind of catch a glimpse of it occasionally in there. There are around about 20 of them.
Oof.
You're not alone in this wagon either. There is this lady. And when you wake up, she gives you a sort of half smile and says, you're all awake then. You've been out for a while. It was a day ago they brought you in here. I thought you were never going to wake up.
Oh. Pounding headache, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was really good stew. She
smiles and she says, "You're lucky they just drugged you. I was attending to my business in some bushes and one of these bastards hit me over the back of the head."
What does that mean?
She was having a pee. Now, are you all right? She looks at her with concern.
Oh yeah, it's I've been here a few days and it's healed now. Well, there's a bit of a bump, but I feel all right.
So, are we still dressed in our armor? And is there any?
No.
Can we see our stuff anywhere?
You cannot see your stuff, and none of you are wearing armor. There is no sign of your horse either, which is worrying.
Has Baldwin's mask been taken?
Yeah, probably.
Baldwin's mask has been taken. How does Baldwin react when he wakes up and finds
Flip
his
that
mask
token.
is gone?
Would we be able to say that he maybe woke up first of them and then his mask
Yeah.
is off? How do you have my mask off?
I do. I'll just drop that on. Give me a minute.
Sure.
But you can start talking and I'll.
Yeah, so when you look over to Baldwin, the mask is gone, and you see a very different kind of person than you might have spoken with last you were awake. The mask off, the form not so proud. He leans over. The one thing he was perhaps somehow able to save was the holy symbol of Mishikal, and he leans over and he holds it with chained wrists, and he's simply praying. And there's a bit of a quake to one of his hands. His gloves are gone, armor gone. Much of his flesh is decayed, gray. Some of old wounds are scarred over and strangely blackened. Not even just like scars, but this blackened swaths as if they never healed correctly. And he simply prays, and you can hear him whispering, muttering. Blessed Mishakal, forgive me for my ignorance. I have failed you once more. Hear my prayers, hear my prayers. Listen to me.
Isabeau stifles a gasp and kind of, without thinking, backs away just, an inch. Oh, Baldwin. That's Baldwin.
And you do recognize the kind of underlying features of his face, but
Right,
yeah,
it takes a
what
minute.
happened to his- yeah.
Yeah, Roop.
Rubrum.
Go ahead. Sorry.
She's like shaking him.
What?
We've been taken. We're in some sort of a cage, being pulled by horses. They must be slavers.
It was the... He sees Baldwin in his eye. He actually gives like kind of a surprised face. And he's like, "They put a ghoul in here with us?"
Baldwin.
Huh?
That's Baldwin.
Where?
Oh my god.
She just
Yeah,
looks at him like
it's close enough I can hear them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, Ruben
so-
wouldn't be
so
quiet at
right
all.
next
She's
to you.
probably
Yeah,
fucking
no,
whispering.
Baldwin, he breaks his chant and says, I am here, Rupram. I am the ghoul of which you speak.
He like looks you up and down. He seems almost fascinated. Curious. What happened to you?
The worst thing that could probably ever happen to anyone. Be betrayed by a parent, by a father.
Well, how did he betray you? We have some time, it appears.
He thinks on whether or not to tell it, and he's looking around. Prefer not to stay in the back of his cart. We can try to find an opportunity to escape, but I will tell you some now. My father put a curse on me before he passed away. And what you see is the result.
your father. I'd heard some rumors, but not this. Oh, Baldwin, I'm so sorry.
There's nothing for you to apologize to, Isabel. If anything, I should say sorry to you. It was my father's folly what has caused you pain.
What do you mean?
How do I say this? And he thinks... I've thought, Isabel, for the last few days of how to tell you, but you... Etienne... He died because of my family.
I don't understand. He died in battle.
He died in the cleansing of Darsgard. My father's mistakes. My family's mistakes. The part that I played in.
She kind of turns away from him, like rubbing at her eyes with the palms of her hands, and we can discuss this another time. And she kind of self-consciously looks over at the other person in the rolling cage with them. And what was your name?
Yeah, she's just kind of looking at the three of you like, wow, this is... She's trying not to
entertainment.
it's kind of like entertainment, but also like, oh wow, this is really awkward. And she says, me, yeah, I'm Karen. I'm supposed to be I'm trying to be. I'm a wandering bard. I've just started.
Oh,
This was my first wandering, and I got hit over the head. And well, apparently now we're going to the mines of Throt.
Oh no, I'm not. She kind of starts to stand up and walk around, kind of pull at the bars just to see how sturdy they are.
Yeah, they're pretty sturdy. And as soon as you do that, the nearest hobgoblin draws his sword, and like where you've got your hands on the bars, he kind of wraps the flat of the sword against your knuckles, hard enough to hurt, and says, "Hands back inside."
She narrows her eyes, but kind of backs away. And says, "This is Rubrum and Baldwin." And she kind of gestures to the two of them. I think they might have bitten off more than they can chew. They just don't know it yet.
We will slay them,
She looks a little
certainly.
confused. She kind of looks outside. Yeah, it's the four of you in a cage, unarmed, like no armor, no arms, and 20 of them outside, all armed and armored. In the case of the hobgoblins, really heavily armored as well. And she looks a little dubious and says, "Great, I like it. A positive attitude. That's wonderful." And then she looks outside and she goes, "Well, who are those weird buggers?" And as you look, there are the wagons are slowing and quickly halt. And there are some figures on horseback coming to meet you. They're coming from the south. You appear to be north of the river now. So they've obviously found a ford. And these people are coming from the east. And they're wearing dark armor. The armor looks rather like this. Blackened armor with a little bit of sort of kind of brass trim, and lots of the skulls are shaped. The helms are shaped like skulls, and can you all three of you make a history check? And Baldwin and Isabeau,
I rolled 10. A 1.
So you only need a 10. Oh dear. Oh my god.
We both roll 1s.
I'm kind of dumb.
Oh my god.
We don't have any idea. We're still too muddled from the drugs.
Yeah. Rubrum, you can get advantage on this check. Oh, yes. So, oh wow, for 22, I'll tell you exactly who these are. These are Knights of Naraka. So they are, I'll give you quite a lot for 22. They're dedicated to the dark god Sarganas, god of vengeance. And they are the counterparts of the Knights of Solamnia. And before they were called the Knights of Naraka, they were called the Knights of Tarkisis. or Takisis, depending on how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just as honourable as the Knights of Solamnia, but a cold, dark honour. But what they do have that sets them apart from a lot of the evils that you'll face in this world is they have a true sense of brotherhood and solidarity. At least the original Knights did. Now the Knights of Naraka, they've kind of splintered into lots of different groups that are all kind of descended from the original groups, because when their patron goddess died, the order fractured. Some of them became little more than thugs. Others tried to hold a little truer to their origins. Over the last 50 years or so, maybe 100 years, Sarganas, his church has tried to reform them into a kind of cohesive order. So apart from the main groups of them are a little bit more like what they were, just a bit more vicious. So they seem to be riding towards the slavers, and the slavers are going out to meet them. And you see that Draconians seem to be separate from the hobgoblins, the Draconians and the humans. And the humans, the Draconians are walking out to meet these riders, and the humans seem to be carrying some sacks of stuff. And as they lay them out on the ground, the riders stop and the leaders dismount. You see there are two of them that seem to be in charge. The one who appears to be the leader is a guy in kind of spiked armor, and he has a large golden lily emblazoned on his chest, and he has another knight who is also wearing armor, but in his case black leather armor, with a grey cloak over it, following him almost as his shadow. He appears to have some rank as well. He moves with that same motion you got from those sorcerers in the trees, like his fingers are ready to kind of twitchy. So you think that despite being amongst this number, he is a knight. And in fact, for 22, you will know that he's actually a Knight of the Thorn. He's a sorcerer, a battle sorcerer. And there's a group of about 10 of them. And all of you realise that as the stuff is laid out from these sacks, what they're laying out is your stuff and the stuff of other people that you can't see, is all being laid out for them.
Do they have my amulet?
Yes, it's there.
Yeah. He relays all this information to them. He does it sort of matter of factly. When he talks about Takisis, there's a very, 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 very heavy disdain to his voice. And he, like when he says her name, his eyes, you could swear they get red. He's like in a kind of almost a rage as he just like stares at these guys. He says, "We need to get free and kill them."
Well, I agree with the getting free part, but I think escape might be, well, perhaps our best hope.
They have my amulet. I must retrieve it.
And they have my father's sword.
Baldwin stops his praying at this point. We are in no position to fight them. Isabel is right. We must try to recollect ourselves, better prepare ourselves. The amulet, it will be there. We will find it again, but we must look to ourselves before trinkets.
It is no trinket!
You notice that the knight in charge has he's picked out something from the pile of stuff, and Baldwin, you recognise it. It's your family's sword. It's been in the family for generations and is rumoured to be magical. Certainly a fine and ancient sword. And also, you notice that one of the other knights is pulling out from the pile the traditional and rather ancient Solamnic full plate armor that you wore, highly decorated, and another family heirloom. And the knight carrying the sword asks a question and then starts walking over to your wagon carrying the sword. And he says, I am told that one of you notice his voice is actually very normal. You expected some kind of deep growling voice or something almost sounding monstrous from this armor, but he's got a light, almost pleasant voice. And he says, I am told that one of you is the owner of this sword. Speak up. Which of you is it?
And Baldwin straightens up as much as he can. That would be me.
He looks at you for a second and then said, was that your mask I saw in the pile?
It was. And the whole time, Baldwin's very standoffish. He presents himself as such.
He turns and he yells at one of the Draconian with some real kind of anger in his voice. He goes, you animals! Give this knight back his mask. Give him back his dignity. And this knight, glaring coldly at the Draconians, picks up Baldwin's mask, carries it over, and then hands it to this guy, who hands it through the bars to Baldwin.
Yeah, Baldwin looks at him warily, but he does take it, and he goes to put it back on, and he does. You have my thanks, but why?
I do not believe in humiliating captives. You are not my captive, or I would have given you a swift death. These slavers, they have their uses. I've been able to rescue this fine sword now from whatever use they would have put it to. I wished you to know that this blade, no doubt, a family blade, I will carry it with honour. And if you should ever find yourself free from the mines of Throt, then I will welcome it if you sought me out and challenged me. For much as I can with easy conscience save this blade by taking it now, my conscience would be yet easier if I had won it by taking your life in honourable combat.
Baldwin looks at him. You have my thanks for returning my mask to me. For whom you serve, you will have my scorn. And I am certain we shall see each other again.
And there's a low chuckle from inside there. It's, so they have not broken your spirit. This is good. I hope to see you again, Sir Knight. Genuinely, I do. And he turns away, and you can see they're taking your family armor out there as well. So he's presumably taking that as well. The man here is just turning away from the cart, and then he just stops for a second and looks at Rubrum and narrows his eyes for a second, and then kind of stares at him and seems like he can't make something out, and then shakes his head and walks off.
While all this has been going on, Isabeau has been trying to get her bearings seen how they're secured and, like, is it how this thing is locked?
Yeah, there is a single lock in the middle of the door, and then bolts top and bottom. But basically, there's only one actual lock. The other two are just to kind of secure it from being kind of bashed
Has she
open.
spotted keys with any of the hobgoblins or draconians?
There, you can make a perception check.
No.
No, she doesn't.
With my face back on, I would also like to look for things.
Yep.
See if I can see weaknesses in the
So
card,
I guess this is a
etc.
question. So the bars have to connect to some wooden spot, right?
Yep.
Oh fuck.
Don't set fire to this while we're inside
Well,
it.
that's kind of the thought. Maybe I could burn it away, and we could kick free. I don't know.
Even the bars are wood. It's just that they're really
Wow.
solid oak. You could break them with enough time. All of this is really solid oak. So yeah, with enough time, you could probably break your way out, but it would make a hell of a lot of noise, and it would take you hours and hours and hours of really bang, bang, bang trying.
Problem's less the card and more the 36 hobgoblins
Yeah.
and draconians that are around.
Yeah.
Do any of you see who has the keys?
Baldwin, yes, you do. There is a hobgoblin who is he's walking not far from the back of the cart. He's got a couple of other hobgoblins as escort, and he looks quite senior. And he is watching the knights carefully. He and the hobgoblins and the knights seem to kind of ignore each other largely, like a study. There's a studied like I'm not paying attention to you kind of thing. The draconians are being quite subservient to the knights, and one of the draconians has got a large purse of money, in fact probably more than one, that's handed over by this guy, and this guy here doesn't seem to talk to them very much. Oh, by the way, he would have given his name before he left, because he wanted you to be able to find him again. So he says his name is Commander Corwin Truelance, which to you sounds like a Solamnic name.
Yeah, I will remember it.
Yeah.
Baldwin, upon seeing the exchange of coin and the keys, he nudges Isabeau and he nods to the hobgoblin that holds the key. That one, he has the keys. He seems to be a leader of some sort. He has an escort with him.
She peers at him, how the keys are secured. Like, does he have them on his belt or something?
He does, yeah.
Might be able
But
to
he wears a cloak, which is why you didn't see them initially.
Yeah.
So they're hidden by his cloak most of the time.
She smiles as he points it out. Might be able to get it, but we'll have to time it right. I'm sure he'll notice not long after they disappear. Perhaps when they stop to rest.
We shall see.
Okay. Unfortunately, for the next 3 days, no real opportunity arises. You probably find some opportunities to work at the bars a little bit, and you've definitely worked a way to slip those two bolts quite easily without them making noise. But that's as much as you've done. But then on the third day, it's just after dusk, and you're about to make camp. I should add, by the way, that you've noticed as you've been traveling, you're traveling east, and you've noticed as you've been traveling that they are very wary at night. They seem to have no care in the world during the daytime, but at night, yeah, there are odd noises, and at a couple of points you've heard scuffles, like armed scuffles out in the darkness, and sentries calling out warnings, and you think a couple of them have been killed at some point. So even such a large group is definitely wary. They keep the fires high. Rogue would like that. And they're very wary.
Did our things get put back somewhere? Did the knights only take Baldwin's sword? What happened there with that transaction?
They took the armor and the sword, and they certainly paid for that. But then after the commander had taken some, I should have mentioned, the rest of the knights all went and bought various things.
So our stuff was kind of distributed among these.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. And you did notice that your locket, Rubrum, went to one of the knights, and another one's taken your armor. There's a woman about your size that took your armor, Isabel. And most of your stuff has gone, and the rest of it they kind of just discarded. And that was really what hurt most of all, right? Seeing stuff that you value just being left behind. But it's dusk. 3 days have gone by, and the wagons are just slowing. They're obviously looking for a place to make camp, and that hobgoblin behind is kind of eyeing up the terrain ahead, talking to a scout that was out. And then all of a sudden, the scout that's talking to him gives a sort of staccato gasp, sort of, and pitches forward on his face with an arrow in his back. And then more arrows come flying. The guards all start yelling warnings, and you see figures rush from the tree line to the north. Some of them are wearing leather armor, some of them wearing heavier armor, but they're all wearing cloaks of green and brown. But they all bear a particular pin on their cloak that you can see. Anyone who wants can make a history check.
These are going very well for us, guys. I'm sure we'll hit these.
Oh my
Rubber got it.
Oh, yes. So, Baldwin and Rubrum, you both recognize it. I'll give Rubrum a bit extra. So these guys are members of the Legion of Steel. It's a loosely organized, in theory, a knightly order, but actually a little bit more informal than that. And they don't just accept warriors. Their main reason they're referred to as a knighthood is they have a strict code of conduct. But they are dedicated to largely to freedom, to people's right to live their lives as they choose. And Rubrum, also the reason they're called the Legion of Steel is they were formed after the Chaos War a long time ago, about 170 years ago. And they're named after they were named after a dead knight of Takesis, Steel Brightblade, who was considered the epitome of honor and died fighting for those on his side and not on his side, kind of thing, in a war. Right. But right now, battle is erupting. I'm going to go and switch to this route. You can see here within seconds everything has kind of changed. Let me move her back a little bit. And you see this guy here is the leader. He sends his guards off to go attack some of these people in the trees. Most of the guards go off to the north. A couple are watching from the south in case there's further attacks from there. This guy is sort of commanding from here, from a little bit behind the scenes, and then all of a sudden there is just this fountain all around him of earth and stone just erupts from the ground, and he's thrown into the air, and he's dead before he hits the ground. It's this massive eruption of earth, and when it settles, you see who did it. It's this woman here. She looks to be a half-elf with long blonde hair, wearing a long green hooded cloak and leather armor with the... and she wears two things. She wears a pin of the Legion of Steel, but she also wears an amulet that marks her as a druid. And she quickly rushes forward, and she's starting to rush towards the cart, towards you guys. How do you react?
Oh, Baldwin is up and ready. He's, I would imagine, trying to work at the door and his chains and everything else. This is their opportunity.
Yeah.
Michelle has given us a chance, and he's up on his feet.
Do we see the man who had the keys?
Yep, it's this dead one here.
Oh, Isabeau goes up to the, to the front or the back of the cage anyway,
Yep.
and she stretches out her hand, and she tries to mage hand the keys off of his belt.
Oh, nice. Yep, you can do that. So she was rushing towards you, and then she sees you do that, and the keys are kind of floating towards the lock. And she just makes eye contact with Isabeau, and then nods. And then she goes running off back this way, where you can see kind of off camera here a little bit. There are several more fighting. Okay, let's roll for initiative. Roll some of these guys. Let me just hold on. Let me make sure the turn order is... Oh, I need to clear the turn order.
That's
Hold
really
on.
pain with
Yeah.
roll 20.
Oh, got him.
Yeah. So you've still got the other group in the turn order. Okay.
Okay, roll.
See, Isabeau is also slow. Excellent. I am not slow at all. What the fuck, man?
Did it not? My initiative not come through?
It may have got cleared when
I rolled it after. It's an 18.
I rolled an
Okay.
8 and then a 1 after you cleared the initiative, so I'm like
Okay.
really slow.
So you were 18, Tet, and Isabeau was... I'll give you the 8. And we've got Baldwin in there, right? Okay, I'm going to put several people in the turn order, even though they're not necessarily... Okay. I'm going to put everyone in who could possibly attack. I've got the 3 groups of people, so I've got one for Draconians, one for Hobgoblins, and one for human slavers. Okay. Right. Okay. First to act is Baldwin. So Isabeau has grabbed the keys. They've mage handed to the door, and she's unlocked the door. What's Baldwin going to do?
Alright, first being mindful of the other... knowing that Rubrum can likely fight, and that Isabeau can too, he looks to Karen. If you can fight, try to grab a weapon. If not, break for cover. I will try to buy time for you to wait. And he jumps out of the back of the cart, and the hob fell here. He has a weapon.
Yep. He's
I
got a
will-
long sword.
I will take that. Any shield or just a sword?
He does have a shield. Yep.
I will grab the shield, the sword.
Okay.
and with the rest of my movement, I will move to face... No, he would fight the most dangerous threat. He's going to the Draconian.
Okay. Yeah, he turns as he sees you coming. But
I picked up everything, so no more action.
That's right.
Probably. Yep. I will stand to face him, stoic.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to make perception checks for these slavers to see if they've noticed that you've... No. And the other one, 10. Okay, this one notices something's happening, and he comes running over here, and he's trying to wrestle the door shut. Okay.
So that's a bad guy there?
Yep, right here.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's trying to, as you're kind of holding the door open, he came rushing up and threw his weight into it, and he's kind of knocked the door shut a little bit. Well, actually, let's find out. Let's find out what he's done. Let's do it as an opposed athletics check.
Okay.
So, 4. No, he's not gonna.
Oops, I that's the wrong thing, but it's the right bonus, so it's the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
So 22.
Right, yeah. So you manage to actually... It's a bit of a shock as he hits this thing, so he kind of throws his shoulder into it, but he hits a little bit too close to the hinge, and you brace yourself and manage to keep the door open. Okay, on to Rubrum. You're inside the car.
Does this guy have cover because of Yazbu if I want to hit him with like a firebolt or Eldritch Blast or something?
Yeah, but he'll just basically get a plus.
Well, I'll use the Eldritch Blast with Spell Sniper, reduces that.
Okay.
So
nice.
I
think Spell Sniper reduces everything, doesn't it? It's just
it reduces
I think
various
it's
covers.
half to no cover,
Yeah.
and then full to half, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I'm just saying if you use another cantrip, it will work for that as well. But you're probably right. You don't want to be setting fire to the car.
Yeah. So I'll just he just he'll do Eldritch Blast. He just puts up his hand and goes, "Ah!" and fires away.
Okay.
Not good.
Okay. Oh yes, you don't get any penalty. You just attack him as normal. Okay. So 7, however, is not going to do it.
Level
Yeah.
1.
So you fire it straight into the bars of the cage. Gives him a hell of a fright though, and he lets go of the door.
And
he calls over to this guy here. And he goes, "Sorcerer! Fucking sorcerer here." Isabeau. Oh, anything else from Ruben? Sorry.
No, I don't have anywhere I want to move. So.
Okay. So you're kind of in the back here. Okay, Isabeau.
I'd like to push the door open and kind of tackle this guy. Does he have a weapon?
He does have a weapon. Yes.
What kind of a weapon does he have?
He has a scimitar.
Okay. I'm going to jump at him and pummel him. She says, "For Kiri Jolith, for Blackstone, and for honor."
Okay.
And she's just going to jump down with a fist to his face.
Okay, so this is going to be... Are you going to do an unarmed attack, or are you going to try and grapple him?
I think I'm going to try an unarmed attack, and if I hit, then I'll use my Squire ability.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, judo chop.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So you can roll. Oh, very nice.
And now I also get to use Precise Strike.
Very nice indeed.
So yeah, she jumps out, crying her battle cry, and her fist glows slightly as it punches this guy in the side of the face.
Yeah, and he's really shocked by that. And he's yelling to the other one to come and help him. He goes, they're all bloody sorcerers!
And so I guess she's probably kind of down now.
Yes. Yeah.
God damn.
Okay, anything else from Isabel?
Uh, nope.
Okay. The Draconian is going to attack Baldwin. He kind of whirls round. He was looking for an opponent to fight. I should add, by the way, you can probably see from the map that it's quite misty. And that's something you found in the nights here. They get very misty. Not always, but pretty frequently. So as soon as you're about like 30, 40 feet away, it gets difficult to see people. Okay, Draconian is going to attack you twice with a short sword, Baldwin.
That's, I don't know how he did, but he missed both, because my AC is 11 right now. With his shield.
Okay, so that means you fended them both off with your shield.
Yeah,
they would have hit you otherwise. Good thing you picked up the shield.
Yeah. As he comes at him, Baldwin's it's close, but he's battering it away with his shield. Bats one away with the sword.
Right. Okay. I realised your hit points aren't showing, so let me have those. Okay. Right. Okay. There's one other thing I'll do that. Okay. That's him done. No, actually it's not. He kind of tracks round you, and he's trying to get. He's between you and Isabeau. He seems confident enough that he's trying to position so he can attack you both next round. Hobgoblins, none of them have noticed you yet. They're all fighting other people. Isabel.
Oh no, that one doesn't count.
Oh, that's fake.
What is this
That's
guy?
fake
What is the
Isabel.
driver doing of the cart? Is he?
Oh yes, I meant to roll for him. He is going to... I want to use one of these for him because it's the same. Okay, he's looking quite nervous, and he's standing here. But he's kind of looks through that little grate that's between you and him. He looks through, sees Rubrum throwing magic, and he kind of jumps down off the side here and backs away a little bit. Okay, Baldwin.
Yeah, I think we'll go in on the Draconian. Seems good to me.
Oh, I should add, by the way, when it comes to those drivers appear to be just some peasant guys that have been paid to do a job. They don't appear to be like particularly part of the group, but at the same time they kind of go along with it for money, but you think they're probably in need of money, so it's a bit of a grey situation. Okay, Baldwin, sorry.
Let's go ahead. Longsword on Draconian. Oh my.
Ooh.
Oh yes, very nice.
8.
Very nice.
It's as hard of a hit as Isabeau does with her hand. Baldwin then brings the longsword around to the side, slashes across the shoulder of the Draconian, and presses into him. You can still surrender. It'll be a quick end.
And he sort of hisses in pain and rage and says, I'm going to stick you good night. I'm going to stick you right through the guts and watch you bleed out.
Promises.
Flavors. Okay, this one here disengages and runs for it. So, 1, 2, 3.
It's your weapon.
He just got punched in the face for 8 damage. He's done.
But the other one's still running in, and he looks a little bit uncertain by the time he reaches you because his friends just rush past you, bleeding heavily. But he rushes in anyway. He's kind of carried by his own momentum as much as anything else. With a slightly worried look on his face, he attacks you with his scimitar. Oh yes. So
Okay.
that's 18.
I won't bother raising shield because that would hit anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so 4
4
slashing.
slashing. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then
he gets a good cut on her torso.
Yeah. And then his confidence seems to return a little bit. He's like, oh yeah, she's unarmed. This is all fine. Rubram.
Yeah, he's
This guy is now
right.
perfect
Yeah,
target for you.
here comes a firebolt. So let's see what happens.
Don't roll a 1.
Mm,
Okay, it's not a 1.
10. No, it hits his armor, and his leather armor smolders for a second, but then nothing happens. And he kind of yelps in surprise and shock. He goes, "You are all bloody sorcerers."
Yeah, Rubrum is cursing in Draconic, as unless you know Draconic, you don't know what he's saying, but
I know Draconic.
yeah, okay, so he says something to the effect of, "This was much easier before my passing. I am weakened by these foolish curse." And yeah.
So more weird ranting
Yeah.
from Rubram, basically. But this time in Draconic, which shows he's learned and weird. Anything else from Rubram? Okay, Isabel.
All right, I am going to... As he's rushing toward her and takes a strike at her, she reaches out her left hand and makes a sort of swirling gesture with it and then fans out her hand. She's going to try to cast Poison Spray. So I have Warcaster, but I'm pretty sure I need to make a concentration check with advantage. I don't know what I need to make on
I
that.
don't think you need to make a concentration check now. That's only if you have a spell that requires concentration to hold.
Oh,
and
gotcha,
then someone hurts
yeah.
you. That's when you
Okay,
make those.
so I'm just going to cast this.
So this
So,
time they have to make a Constitution saving throw. What's the difficulty? The DC?
The difficulty is
Oh,
12.
12. Okay. Let me go up here. So it's just one creature, right? So who are you casting it on? The Draconian or the Slaver?
The slaver, the one right in front of me.
Okay. Yep. So he is going to make a.
Ugh, he made it.
Yeah. He shrieks in slight panic as this spray of poison kind of wafts towards his face, and he throws up his arm, and it looks like most of it kind of hit him in the arm. I guess it's gas, isn't it? So it kind of wafts over his arm, but he manages not to inhale it. Coughs a little bit and then seems fine. But his eyes are wide. He's a little nervous now. A little more nervous, in fact. Anything else from Isabel?
No.
Okay.
Well, do these people, does she have room to come out if she wants to?
Yeah, what's she doing actually? Yeah, she's here. I meant to say what she's doing. She looks at this guy and she starts saying, yeah, bloody hell, you're even uglier than they said. I heard your mum tried to strangle you at birth with your laughter. And yeah, she starts saying about how his dog left him and everything. You know, like no one could love this guy, and so he needs to make a wisdom save. And as soon as I find him, and he made it.
This is a very wise, hardy bandit.
Yeah, he's got no bonus to wisdom, but
He was ready to have the sorcerer card today.
He was like, yeah, what about it?
Yeah, well,
You're not the first person to tell me that.
yeah.
That's what my mom used to tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
How unlucky is this guy? He gets 3 spellcasters and a fucking zombie in his card. Like,
Yeah.
what a fucking day for these bandits.
Oh dear. Right. So yes, she's quite surprised, but she seems to have quite enjoyed the process. The Draconian attacks Baldwin once and Isabel once.
Oh shit.
Okay. Let me look at this. So he is... What am I doing? Here we go. So, yeah, he is attacking, first of all, Baldwin.
That.
The sword clangs off Baldwin's shield, and he seems to get quite a reverberation from that. But then he whirls and strikes Isabeau across the
Upon
thigh.
his first day of retirement,
Yeah, she's
Marcus
really hurting.
Rogers
She's
made a contract with
stumbling,
himself.
bleeding.
I will never again work.
Okay. And he laughs. And he sort of says, turns around to Baldwin again. He's kind of like, he's facing kind of this direction, so he can see both of you in his kind of peripheral vision, and glancing back and forth. And as he glances to Baldwin, he sort of says, "See that? Girlfriend's going down. You next, pretty boy."
Wait,
Which
who are you
obviously
talking
to him
to?
is the height of humour. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
talking to
Baldwin
Baldwin.
looks around like, no.
He's grasped the use of
Looks
sarcasm.
at the bandit. He's talking to you. I think he wants your attention now.
Okay. I'm going to see if the hobgoblin notices anything yet. Well, actually, I have to roll something else with hobgoblins. Let me just roll something here. Okay. Yeah. The hobgoblins are all engaged in battle, but this guy here, the driver, starts yelling across them, "Prisoners are getting away! Prisoners are getting away! Help!"
Oh, buddy.
And there are two hobgoblins here that are ganged up on one guy who's fighting a sort of ferocious but failing defense. And it looks like one of these hobgoblins is planning to kind of disengage from that combat and come your way. And he is heavily armored. Okay. Baldwin.
Alright. Attack on the Draconian. I'm going to use my inspiration for advantage on the attack.
Okay.
Advantage. On the sword. Okay. Great.
Okay, that hits, yep. 9, okay. Okay. And it's at this moment that you hear coming from somewhere in this area of the battlefield. I'm not tracking real time what the other group were doing, but it's about this time from this area of the battlefield you hear a deep booming voice that doesn't seem to match any of these guys. And you think it must be another of the sets of prisoners. He's yelling, "Don't kill the Draconians! They turn to stone." Right. Anything else from Baldwin?
No, I think that's it. I think he'll, shit. I'm trying to think of what bonus actions there are that I could do. I don't think there's anything I can shove or anything like that. No. Yeah, I think I'll move closer this way, just in case one of the hobs comes over.
Okay, I've just realised actually, Waterpeck, are you listening? Is he able to hear? No.
Yes, I was muted, sorry.
I was going to say, you can tell them exactly what that shout about not killing Draconians sounds like.
They can see what he was doing.
They can hear over here that, yeah. Yeah, well, you can probably describe what he was doing as well, yeah.
So, amongst the scrum, you see a Minotaur chasing after a Draconian trying to flee the battle. And he lowers his head, the Minotaur does, impaling him through the chest, and his horns burst out his torso. And as he dies, the Draconian, this weird, like, gas kind of emits from him and envelops the Minotaur for a moment. You kind of see his skin almost like going through this weird change, and he kind of eventually is able to concentrate, and it goes away, and that's when you hear him yell, "Stay away! They turn you to stone!"
Cool, thank you. That was great timing. Thanks. Okay, so Baldwin, everyone can hear that. Baldwin, are you done?
Yes, no, he's going to maneuver himself a bit because he hears this guy calling, recognizes the Hob is about to run this way. He just wants to try to put another body between him and... I mean, he doesn't want this guy to get hurt, but he also doesn't want to die. He doesn't want his friends to get hurt either, so he's just going to try to make it as difficult as he can for the Hobbs to join this fight. They're already having trouble, it seems like. There's really a very powerful opponent over here somewhere.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Next, the
Lucky.
slaver here. I'm going to roll a wisdom check for him. If he, because he's been lucky, and this is to realize. Actually, no, I'm going to do an intelligence check to see if he realizes just how lucky he's been, and the odds that just aren't in his favor. If he rolls a 12 or higher, he's going to run. Okay. He disengages from here and runs over to here. Rubrum, you can see there's this Draconian here. Someone's yelling from over here somewhere that you shouldn't kill them because they turn you to stone, but that's up to you.
He's gonna exit pushes past Karen. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so give me. I'm a noob at this, so do diagonals cost 15 or no? Okay.
No, they just cost 5.
So that's 10, 20, or I'm sorry, 15, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, he starts moving around this way, and so once he gets here and he sees the hobgoblins up there, I'm going to use Firebolt on this one.
Yeah, he's the one that's just turning to come in your direction.
Do Firebolt and miss again.
He is very heavily armored, by the way. You notice, so he's going to be quite difficult.
There you go. Nope. Try not.
No, you physically hit him, but it just hits his armor and doesn't seem to harm him. There's a cascade of kind of little sparks and embers off his armor, and he grunts in surprise, but doesn't seem to react apart from that. But it does mean that he notices you.
Yeah, Rubrum is continually cursing in Draconian.
Okay, anything else from him? I think you might have another 5-foot movement if you want to use it.
After I act, it can be split up, is it?
Yep, you can split it. Yeah.
I might move backwards.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it makes it harder for him to reach you. Isabeau.
All right, lay on hands would take the place of an attack, right?
It would, yep.
Okay, well, I think that's still the way to go. I'm going to use 4 of my points on myself. She puts her hands over her thigh and, mutters a prayer to Kiri Julieth. And the blue light comes from her hands and starts to mend the wound. 4 points.
Nice. Anything else from her?
I'm going to move a little bit to kind of flank this
Yep.
creature.
He is kind of adjusting. He kind of turns to keep both of you, like one on his shield side, one on his weapon side. Okay, and I'm going to make for him just to see whether he's going to try and finish you off or whether he's just going to run. Oh no, he thinks he's going to push his luck. He's going to try and again he attacks both of you, one with each weapon.
That would hit me.
Yep. So you take 4 piercing damage. Oof.
Oh my gosh.
Good thing you
And
healed.
you, Ouch.
I'm down to 0.
Yeah, so he slashes you across that same thigh again, and the blood streams out, and you feel the leg buckle underneath you, and then everything goes black. And the Draconian cackles with glee, and he, as he brings his sword round, he flicks some of Isabeau's blood onto Baldwin's armor, and just says, "Told you you'll be next." Hobgoblin. This hobgoblin is now coming for Rubrum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 around here. And in fact, he's going to dash, so he makes it up to you. He comes running at you, this big armored figure. Okay. He looks pretty big now he's up close. Baldwin.
Warnings of stone be damned.
The Minotaur tried.
He tried.
Yeah.
No, after that, I don't think you could. That's about that. That's irredeemable. So yeah, I swing on him.
Yeah.
That should have been with
nice.
advantage, but that first one would have been the end.
It would have still been the first one, yeah.
Yes. That's not very good.
Three slash.
He's already hurt.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
he
like
is. He is. And yeah. You know what? He is down. He as you slash him across the chest there. Actually, you can describe it. How does it go? He's feeling very confident, and then you fell him.
Yeah, so Baldwin sees Isabeau go down, and there's a snarl forms on his face, and he grits his teeth. He walks over and he bats the short sword aside, and just rams his long sword into the chest of the Draconian. Irredeemable. His soul finds peace, and he pushes him away, sympathetic ground.
Nice. And then it is just as the old gypsy woman, or perhaps the Minotaur, foretold, because as he falls, his body turns to stone, and he releases a gas. This is going to be complicated because Isabeau is next to him as well.
Yeah, she's prone. She's under the gas.
That's a good
Nice
point.
try.
There's the first win.
Okay. So I'll tell you that the good thing is, if you get turned to stone, you can't bleed out.
Well, she can't bleed out anyway. She's at 0.
Well, she can at 0. You start making death saves.
Oh, I thought that was at -1. Okay.
No minuses anymore in fifth edition. Right. So let me just have a quick look here. Oops. I just want to check something. So first of all, you see his body turns to stone, and then this kind of strange greenish gas starts coming out of the body. Could you both... I'm going to double check on whether Isabeau gets a save, because she's unconscious. But for the moment, while I'm checking, can you both make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw? So 11 to
Certainly
target.
try. I easily do.
Nice.
They both passed.
Look, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, conditions here. So you are incapacitated, unconscious. You fail strength and dexterity saves, but you do not automatically fail constitution saves. Okay. So both of you feel the same thing that the Minotaur was warning you about, which is your skin starts to harden and go greyish. Isabeau, you don't really experience this, but it is happening to you. And then Baldwin, you quickly kind of shake it off. You kind of move and flex. It feels almost like your skin returns to a sort of pinkish hue, and get your flexibility of form back. Isabeau, it seems to take an age. She only just saved, so yeah, she the whole of her body turns quite greyish for a second before she recovers. Okay.
And I'll
Anything
move
else from
there.
Baldwin?
I'll move there, getting ready
Okay.
to use
When
my
you move there,
monster.
you can see that Rubrum's squaring up against an opponent. So then you can see the hobgoblin through the cart here.
Yeah, he looks to Rubrum and then looks to Isabeau, and he needs to help Isabeau. She's down. He looks to Rubrum.
Okay.
Hold firm, Rubrum. I'm coming.
Okay. The slavers are all run. Rubrum, what are you going to
He
do?
does not even look the slightest worried about it, and he casts Burning Hands.
Very nice.
He needs to make a Dex save. Yeah,
Dex
13
save.
is
Oh,
the.
it's probably a good one to use
Yeah,
against
it's
this guy. And she's Dex isn't
Oh
bad.
my god! Give me a break.
Oh.
GM is rolling rocks tonight.
Hey,
I
roll
know,
one for the horse
sorry.
though, just to make sure.
Oh yeah, what have we else we got? We've got the
Yeah,
the
it hit
horse.
We've got a lot of
Wow.
shit
Yeah.
in 15 feet.
Yeah.
I think they've got +1 Dex horses. I could be wrong. Oh no!
Oh no.
Killed a horse.
Could you roll damage, please?
I did
Who
already. It was
who was
14.
saying, have you
It
ever
was
eaten
14.
horse?
He's got 13
Build a
hit
mighty
points.
foe.
You burn the horse to death. And you also set fire to the cart. Karen swears and jumps out of the cart as it catches fire.
Have you ever eaten horse? Would you like to?
The other horse here is panicking because it's attached to a cart that's now on fire.
Be hard to
and it
drag.
looks like
It'd
the
be hard
driver
to
is
drag
trying
that
to-
other dead horse, though.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
We would
panicking
probably
and
get
trying.
tipped over, and that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's so all sorts of crap is going to happen here in a second with that
Oh my
burning cart.
God.
Anything else from Ribram?
I don't think so.
Okay, Isabeau, can you make me a death save, please? So you just
Yeah.
roll a d20. You want 10 or higher.
Okay. Oh, I was gonna see if there was somewhere
Don't
on the
roll a
sheet.
one. Don't roll a one.
Don't roll a 1.
It shouldn't matter, but don't anyway. Okay.
Okay, so you have failed 1 death save. The idea is to succeed on 3 before you fail at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think death saves are up. Where are they? Condition. Oh yeah, your sheet here. Let me do this. Okay, so I'll mark off a failure for you. So if you're looking at your D&D Beyond character sheet, you'll see that there. Okay, right. Okay, so Isabeau is she shakes slightly and she's still bleeding. Draconian is gone. The hobgoblin. Oh, actually, does he take any damage if he succeeds? I think it's half, isn't it?
I think it's half for burning.
Half, yeah. So he still takes 7
7.
damage. That's nice. So he's actually quite badly injured. Yeah, he gets engulfed in flames too. He flows up an arm over his face, but even so, his hair catches fire and his arm gets scorched, and he gets a yell of pain. And he decides to try for some payback.
Yep. Miss.
Does 9 hit? Okay, he slashes wildly at you and misses.
I have 15.
And then curses, and he is going to make a run for it before you can cast anything else.
Well, you
So,
can run far
he
away,
moves
I'm
away,
still
you
going to
can
hit you. Or I'm still going to try to hit you.
Yeah,
You get
I
an
don't
attack of
think-
opportunity if he moves out of your melee range.
I
But I don't
in
know if you
theory
have
you're
a-
supposed
Punch
to
him.
have a weapon.
I don't
to
even
get
have a
that,
weapon.
But you can. I'll let you punch him. I'll let
can
you
punch
try and
him.
punch
Ruben wouldn't even try.
him. Okay,
That's fair.
that's beneath him. 10.
Punching's fun.
Apparently.
Don't dirty
Punching
your
for fun and
hands.
profit. Right, Baldwin.
Yeah, lay on hands for Isabel. Baldwin puts a hand on your shoulder and just one
Okay.
hit point from the lay on hands pull.
Okay.
As she
So-
comes to, he will say, "We won't be losing any more black stones today." And he
She
We'll
she
start to
looks around
give
the battlefield.
he'll start to give chase to the hob.
Okay.
Not
But
having
as you
anything
do so,
else to
actually, as
do.
you come running around the cart, I'll give you a chance to make a perception check before you do.
No.
No. Okay. Yeah. As you give chase here, you can see that it's not just these guys. There's these slavers have all run for it now. But overall, the battle's it's hanging on a knife edge. And Isabeau, as you wake up, this woman here, this druid, she's backing towards you and kind of fighting doing a sort of fighting retreat against a couple of hobgoblins, and she looks at how badly injured you are, and she says, "Please run. All of this is for nothing if you die. We're risking our lives to save you. Don't die for nothing.
Who are you?
We are members of the Legion of Steel." And she kind of wards off
Yeah.
a blow with her scimitar, and she's trying to like look over her shoulder and fight at the same
Yeah.
time. Slavers are an abomination. Clang clang. So yeah, that's about all she can say. But she's trying to hold a couple of them off here. In fact, I can put some more. But yeah, it's you don't think you're going to be able to kind of like just quickly turn the tide of this battle.
Oh.
I'm gonna bring these guys back and use them as the two that are fighting her. Yeah, these guys look a bit tougher actually. They are not the same. They are human slavers, but they're a bit tougher than the ones you were fighting. Okay, we've done Baldwin. Ribram.
Well, first thing I'll do firebolt against this hobgoblin that's running.
Yep,
So
a running target's your favorite
yeah,
target.
it's probably gonna be a miss.
No,
And
yeah, his
then
armor's
he
just
starts he hears all this conversation. He's gonna try to get out of there. I think he's gonna flee into the forest.
There is a gap. There's a gap through. Well, actually, not so much here. There's a gap through here. You can.
Oh,
you
I
can
gotta
get
go that
through.
way. Okay. That's
Yep.
fine.
Because there's people fighting further over
You
this
could
way.
go south.
You could. But when she was saying to run, she was kind of pointing to the north for
Yes.
some reason.
Ah.
Okay. I'll move over here.
Okay, cool. Isabel. You
She...
find yourself lying there, and you as you open your eyes, you see Baldwin running off.
Yep.
You've just got this distinct feeling it was him that brought you back.
She groans and rolls over and sees this turned to stone draconian. Does it have a weapon?
Let me see whether its weapon survives. Yeah, it so at the moment its sword it's got a short sword that's held in its kind of stone grasp.
Does
So-
it have a shield?
But this hobgoblin here has a long bow and a dagger.
Oh, okay. She'll... Since that looks harder to grab, she'll grab the long bow and the dagger
Okay.
and head toward, and she'll look at her and say, "Come on."
She nods. Says, I'm with you. You can only move 15 feet this round as well because it's taken half your movement to get up.
5, 10, 15. Well, I don't know.
5, 10. No, you can actually get to here. Next to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And she joins you and in fact runs on a little bit ahead. Okay. The hobgoblin is 5, 10, 15, 20. Kind of runs over here and attacks this woman from the rear. You can see that these guys now, in this other cart, they've actually commandeered the cart, and this cart goes riding off, hell for leather, and off to the east here. Over here, this horse is dead, a kind of burnt lump, and this horse is absolutely panicking, trying to pull free of this burnt cart. But you know, the cart's partly burnt. One of this wheel is not looking good. It's kind of disintegrated, and between that and the fact there's a dead horse lashed to it, this horse is going nowhere. It's trying to panic and pull free or pull the cart with it, but it can't. The driver's trying to free it, but the horse is lashing out at him whenever he gets near. Baldwin.
What's binding the horse? Is it rope? Is it wood? What is it binding it to the cart?
It's leather. It's kind of like, you know,
Leather
kind of bridle and reins kind of thing.
Is there any way I could step over and cut the leather, or try to cut the leather?
You could, yeah.
Yeah, he'll come over, and he'll cut that corner. He'll try to cut the leather to free the horse with the sword.
Nice.
Free it.
Okay. Yeah, you do that, and the horse just runs for it.
Yeah, so it darts. This space is open now to move.
Yep. In fact, let me just, I think it's there.
Run me over with the cart real quick.
Yeah, just, the horses run off
You're
straight.
free! Trample.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I start heading...
The driver just kind of like looks at you and holds his hands up like, I'm no threat, and says, as you sort of run up to him and kind of pass, he says, that was a kind thing you did.
Baldwin stares hard at him as he moves past. So he'll even stop for a moment, stare hard at him, look at him. Rethink your life. This was a poor decision. A lesser man than me might have killed you. And he stares at him real hard, just with dead stare looking in his eyes. Rethink your life.
He looks pale and frightened. In fact, can you make an intimidation check?
Yes.
You kill him by looking at him. He has a heart attack.
He poops himself to death.
Wow. You genuinely think he might rethink his life, actually. He looks so frightened.
I'll move my way past.
Okay, cool. And we will change from this scene. So I'm going to move to. Where am I going to move to? I'm going to move back to here for a second. You see, as you flee north and slightly eastwards, the sounds of battle quickly fade, and there is only a misty landscape, which I probably should have the art for. But if you see this landscape here, that's the kind of landscape you're fleeing through. Sparse trees, rolling hills, and mist. This mist everywhere. You keep thinking there are things in the fog. Is the enemy going to leap out of the fog at you? But no, it's another tree. And you've been traveling for you don't know how long. And then ahead of you, you see light, firelight. And first of all, it's just an illumination in the fog up ahead. But then you see a wooden castle. A wooden stockade with a wooden gatehouse surrounds a Mott and Bailey style castle. There are some houses within the outer stockade, and then a large mound in the center, on top of which there is a building not quite like this one. There is a wooden story, but it's the upper of two stories. The bottom story is stone, kind of stone slab or plinth, that seems to be like a story high. There's no obvious way in at that point. There are steps that go up it to the wooden upper story, which appears to be a small kind of square keep. And as you're looking upon this, you can see some way off to the east of you, and a good deal closer to this than you, that cart with the other prisoners in is heading in that direction. And then the only other thing that you register is a howl. Howl of a wolf, but not a wolf. It's seemingly almost as much a howl of pain and of anger and of fear as it is of a normal wolf talking to its packmates.
Is it coming from behind us or ahead of us?
You're not sure in the mist. And we will leave it there for the night. Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh.